Hello and welcome. At 1939, Pomerania was a narrow corridor between Germany and Eastern Prussia, and it was the only connection for Poland with the sea. Because of that, Poland couldn't simply give this area without fighting. Defending the Pomerania was a heavy task. In fact, forces gathered there were about doomed to fail. Why? Because they had to fight in a very narrow space, and they were about to be attacked from both directions. Because of that, some suggested that it is pointless to keep any forces there, and they should be withdraw on the better positions. But this is simply a military thinking, while Poland had other problems. Everyone saw what happened to the Czechoslovakia, and some of the Polish leaders were pretty certain that if they will evacuate their forces from the border area, then Germans might simply enter Pomerania, Silesia or Greater Poland, occupy these areas and say, okay, we have what we wanted, we don't need any more war, let's make some peace. And of course, Western countries like France or England would welcome another Munich conference. Because of that, Polish commanders decided to defend every single inch of the Polish border, so crossing Polish border itself will be the war. And that was the reason why Polish army decided to deploy two infantry divisions, 9 and 27, along with Pomeranian Cavalry Brigade in this area. These forces were in the very heavy, very problematic situation. There were no fortifications there, and any kind of field fortifications were about to be built. And of course, Germans could overrun them in no time. So, at the beginning of the war, Polish forces at Pomerania were about to fight, but this fight was about to be lost sooner or later. And here we have a scenario from the game Blitzkrieg 1939 Guderian about the combat that took place in the first days of the war at the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th of September 1939 with German 3rd Armored Division making their way from Germany to the Eastern Prussia through the Pomerania. In this scenario we have two German units, 3rd Armored Division and 23 Infantry Division. And on the Polish side, we have 9 Infantry Division, which is already deployed on the board, and we have another 27 Infantry Division coming later. German goal is not to fight or destroy any Polish unit that they have on the board. Instead, Germans win if they will cross as many units of their forces from the west to the east. And you can see that there is a major forested area here. This is called Bory Tucholskie, aka Tucholskie Woods, and this is probably the major obstacle for Germans with crossing the board. Well, let me show you how the board itself looks, because it is rather narrow but quite long, and Germans have to reach the eastern part of the board. And Polish forces are not very impressive at the beginning of the game, so it seems that that might be some kind of walk in the park for Germans, but both sides are about to gain some reinforcements in the further turns, so this situation won't be easy for both, since to win the game, Poles simply have to not let Germans cross the border. If until the end of the 3rd of September any German unit won't be able to leave the board to the eastern edge, then Polish side is victorious. Otherwise, game goes on, and German player gains one victory point for each unit that enters, that leaves the board through the eastern edge. So the level of victory for Germans is measured by the number of their units that leave the board through the eastern edge. Okay. At the beginning of the game, Polish forces are set up according to the scenario rules, while German player may choose 50 points of the 3rd Armored Division. So, what do we have here? I decided for one armored battalion, including 3 battalions, armed with Panzer I and Panzer II tanks, one artillery unit, headquarter, reconnaissance unit, combat engineers unit, and motorized regiment. So these are my forces, and my goal is to make my way as far east as possible. If I will be able to catch any major parts of the roads through the woods here, it will be brilliant. And you can see that German units are pretty fast, and I think this is their major advantage. Of course, they are pretty strong as well, but their goal is to move like that. You can see there is a road, and if they will be able to catch this road and to make their way somewhere here, it will be amazing. But we have at last one Polish company on our way, and we will have to do something to get rid of these Poles. This is simply a company, so it isn't very strong, but still it might slow us down. And of course the time is running out, and we have a very limited number of turns to win this game. Okay, let's start our game, and what I'm going to do, I need to get rid of this Polish company first. So all my units are starting from this hex. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. And now I want to attack this unit from the march. Attack in the march is allowed during your movement phase, but you have to spend 2 movement points for that. I have 2 movement points left, so it's fine. And you can attack with 2/3 of your strength points only. So I have 7, and so it will be 5, and I will use my ground attack air force to support this attack. So I have 5 plus 5, it is 10. Defender, if fortified, fights with its entire strength, and if not fortified, it also fights with 2/3 of its strength. So we have 10 versus 2, it's 5 to 1, 5 to 1, and 4 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the fortification and the town. So it's 3 to 1, let's make a roll, and I got 4 in the 3 to 1. This is B2. So defender has to retreat 2 hexes, 1, 2, and attacker might pursue. And now I have to roll for the losses. Now Germans had 10, and it is -2 because of the village and fortification. So it is 2, 3, and 9. No losses on Polish side. And now we had 2, so verse 2 plus 2, so it's verse 6, 10, and the roll is 5, 1 loss on the German side. So the German company suffered 1 loss. We used our ground attack air force, so we have to remove it from the board, but we managed to make a way for our troops. This is great. The biggest problem would be if I would roll something like, let me check in the 2, 3, 10 or more. or even less, because I needed them to get out of this area, and at last to keep them out of this hex, because if they will be at this hex, they will still have their zone of control over this village, and I wanted to get rid of them as far as possible. So it went fine, and now I can move my other units freely. Okay, so let's go. And now, my tanks first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that was a main road, and this black is secondary road. 8, 9, and 10. Now these tanks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Next, this reconnaissance unit, it moves just like this, guys, but it was 10 and now 11, 12, maybe not, it was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they will be here. Next, this motor battalion, it goes here, 10, and it will be 11 and 12. Now I have two motorized infantry battalions, and where are they going to go? I think that I will place one of them here to protect my lines from these Polish units, and the other will go here, maybe here. Should be fine. Now my artillery rides. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I will give them protection of these combat engineers, so no Polish unit will try to attack this artillery, and artillery is pretty vulnerable when it is attacked. So that's all for the German movement phase, and now we have Polish counterattack phase. In this phase, Polish units are allowed to move one hex and attack any German units that they can, but you cannot perform counterattacks with your units if your units are in the enemy zones of control. So there is no such opportunity for Poles anywhere, so no counterattack. And next we have a German combat phase. So here I have to attack, because you have to attack any enemy units that are in your zones of control. So here I have 6 versus 2, so it's 3 to 1. 3 to 1, and they are in the open ground, so no modifiers, and 3 to 1 and 9 this time. This is B1, so defender has to retreat 1 hex. Germans can perform a pursuit, and now I have to roll for losses. Germans had 6, so Polish company suffers no losses, and Poles have 2 and 8. Germans suffer no losses. Okay, this concludes German actions. Yes, this concludes all the German actions in the turn 1. in the turn one of the day one, because in this system each day has 3 turns, 2 daily turns and 1 night turn. Okay, time for Poles. Well, their situation is not easy. I think I will move this battalion 1, 2, 3 and 4, so it will block this road. Next, I would like to have someone to block this area and that area. Looks like impossible task. I will move this battalion here, so it will have both of these areas in its zones of control. Well, better than nothing. Next, secondary road for the infantry units. Let me check. A half. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I think I should rather get rid of this artillery here, otherwise it might be easily destroyed. 1, 2. Now that should be all here. And now these Polish units. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 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 You can see one of the major problems of Polish army at 1939, a race between infantry units and motorized units. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1.5, 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So Poles are trying to make their way into the woods to build some kind of blockade for German units coming, but I think it might be hard. Well, there are more units to go later, so maybe some of them will be able to slow German advance, but so far it looks that the Germans are making their way pretty easily. And now this company here, they are in the village, so they will fortify itself. Okay, so that's all when it comes to the Polish movement. Next we have German counterattack phase. And now German player is allowed to move his units 1 hex. And do I have any opportunities to perform a counterattack? Well, they are 1 hex from this Polish unit, but this Polish unit is in the woods. So moving here and attacking them with a single motorcycle battalion seems to be not a very good idea. Let me check. This motorcycle battalion has 4 points of strength, and this Polish battalion is probably 4. Yeah, it would be 1 to 1, but they are in the woods, and if you are in the woods you get a modifier of -1, so it would be 1 to 2. Well, why not? I will take that risk. I will make a counterattack here, and I will we have 1 to 2. So Germans need to roll, let me check, 3 or less to drive Poles away. Sounds like impossible task. 8, no. 1, 2, 3, it is A1. So German unit is forced to retreat. And now we have to make a roll for the losses. Germans had 4, but they have -1 because of these woods. 10, it is 2-3 in the woods, no losses on the Polish side, and Poles had 4 but +1 because of the woods, so the verse 6-10, and 4, 1 loss for Germans. Well, that wasn't very successful. Okay, the Polish forces are not attacking anywhere, so this concludes day 1 of the battle. I mean, turn 1 of the battle, sorry. We have 2 more turns to go before the day will reach its end. So, we can start turn 2, and now, I got the remaining units of the 3rd Armored Division, so I have 3 more tank battalions of this division. I got 1 more Schule battalion. This is a training battalion, but it's fully operational armored battalion. I got remaining artillery, anti-tank unit, and I get a additional reconnaissance unit from the 19 Armored Corps. Okay, that's good. And now, before I will move these units, that they are also starting on this hex, like any other German units, I have to take care of the situation on the board first. Well, these 2 bridges seems to be pretty important, and capturing them will be vital for my offensive. So I need to get rid of these Poles first. What I'm going to do, they will move here, and these tanks will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they are about to attack this Polish unit in the march with the help of the Air Force. So, what do I have here? I have 5, and now these tanks, they are attacking during their movement, so they have their strength reduced, and they are also fighting in the woods. And when tanks are fighting in the woods, they have their strength halved. So, first of all, they have 7, and now I have to halve their strength because they are fighting in the woods. So they have 3.5, and we are rounding it up to 4, because we are always rounding the strength up when it is reduced. So we have 4, and we have to reduce because of the attack in the march, so we have 3. So they have 3. This battalion has 4, and it is reduced because of the attack from the march, so it has 3. So we have 5, 8, and 11. 11 versus 4. So it is 3-1 and 2-1 because they are in the woods. So we have 2-1. This is not going to be an easy roll. And I have to make a roll. Let me check what result do I need to drive them away of this hex. I need 7 or less to get to make them get them out, and 4 or less to make them retreat to hexes. Okay, so let's try. 6. This is B1, so defender has to retreat 1 hex. They are retreating here, and Germans are taking this hex. And now let's roll for losses. We had 11 minus 1, so it's 6-10 for Polish losses. No losses on Polish side. Poles are lucky because of that. And now Poles had 4 plus 1, it is 6-10, 8. Germans suffer 1 loss. And now we managed to drive them away, but still this area is in the enemy zone of control, and we will have to do something about it. But first, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6, 7, 8. I will go here because this crossroads seems to be pretty important for me, so I want to keep it. Next, these combat engineers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they move with artillery. This reconnaissance unit, it's pretty fast, yes, but here we have a river, and crossing the river with your motorized or mechanized units is, well, not easy. To cross the river, a unit must start its movement adjacent to the river, and it has to spend a half of its movement points. So, I can do it. So it is 7, and now I am on the clear terrain. Clear terrain for the motorized unit is 1.5 movement point. So it was 7, 8.5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. Now, my remaining units here. One, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These tanks will stay here. I'm not even going to attack with them. They will simply make sure this road will be safe until all the remaining German units will cross it. And now I can move my tank battalions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will allow me to get rid of these Polish units. This battalion will go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Same goes to this battalion. This reconnaissance unit will go here. 10, 11, 12, 13.5. Anti-tank artillery will right here. My artillery will go here, along with corps headquarters. So that's all for the German movement, and now let's check if Poles want to counterattack anywhere. I have a battalion with anti-tank guns, and here we have a German battalion, combat engineer battalions with artillery. So I think this might be opportunity for Poles to counterattack. They have 4 and the Germans had 7, so it is 1-2. Not an easy thing, but it is not impossible. Oh, 9. Yeah, 9. But 9 for Poles. This means A1. So they have to retreat 1 hex. They failed. And now let's check for their losses. Germans had 7, so it is 6-10. no losses on the Polish side, and Poles had 4, so it's 4-5 verse, and 6, no losses on German side either. Okay, and now German attacks. First of all, here I cannot use this artillery because it was already used to repel this Polish attack. So I have 6. Wait, no, I have 3 because they are in the woods. So 3 and 4, it's 7 versus 4. So 2-1. And 9, no retreat for any side. So only losses. Germans had 7, so it's 6-10. 6, again no losses on Polish side, and Poles had 4. 6, no losses on German side either. That's pretty interesting. Now here I have 21 versus 2, and Poles will use this artillery to support their I think this artillery to support their defense. So they have 2 plus, let me check, plus 3, so it's 5. So 21 versus 5 is 4-1. 5-1 because of the star. Oh no, I cannot use a star. Why? Because you cannot use a star when you are attacking from the woods or from the town or from the city, and the number of the stars is reduced by 1 if you are attacking without a support of infantry. So I haven't infantry units here, so I cannot use a star. And one more important, stars are not summed. So for example, each of these 3 units have 1 star, and it doesn't mean that we have 3 stars. No, we can only use the best modifier possible. So we can only use 1 star. And this 1 star is reduced by 1 because we haven't infantry, so we haven't stars to use. So we have 21 versus 5, so it is 4-1. Oh, that's pretty good. 4-1 and 4, this is B2, so Polish company retreats 2 hexes, and we are moving here. And losses, Germans had 21, so it's 21-25 verse. These are two losses on the Polish side, so this Polish company suffers 2 losses. And Germans, Poles had 5, and this is 9 on the 5. 1 loss on German side as well. Next here, 21 versus 2, and I will use this artillery to support. So this is 21 versus 5 again, and they are in the woods, so it's 5-1. This is 4-1 and 3-1 because of the woods. So it is 3-1 and 6. This is B1. And now losses. Germans had 21 and -1, so it is 16-20 verse, and 5 in 60-20 it is 1. So Polish company suffers 1 loss. And German losses. Poles had 5 and +1 because of the woods. Oh, that's impressive. And it was 5 + 1, 6-10. This means that the Germans suffered 2 losses. Okay, looks like a couple of tanks were burnt in these woods. And one more combat here. I have 5, and I will use this artillery. It has 5, and it has -1 because it is motorized artillery that made its move. And when our motorized artillery is making its move during the movement phase and it is used during the combat, it has its strength lowered by 1. So it has 5 minus 1 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So we have 9 versus 2, it is 4 to 1, and 3 to 1 because of the woods. So 3 to 1 and 3, not bad. This is b2, so defender has to retreat 2 hexes, and Germans are making pursuit like that. Now losses rolls. Germans had 9, so it's 6-10. Minus 1 is 4-5. 4-5 and 5, no losses on Polish side. And Poles had 2, plus 1 is 4-5. 7, no losses on German side either. So I believe these are all German attacks. Yes, that's all. And now I have to check if German units are in supply. At the beginning of the game I ignored this because it was pretty obvious, and now I would better check to make sure. So here yeah, they have a road connection with their headquarters, and same goes to them. Yes, that's fine. They are in supply. All the other German units are in supply as well. So this concludes German actions in the turn 2. Okay, this is Polish turn. Need to correct board a bit. Okay. And what Poles can do? Well, this unit is retreating. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. I will try to counterattack here again, hoping to gain control of this bridgehead. Now these units 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And these Poles are indefinitely in the complicated situation because German armored battalions are blocking their way, and I am not certain if Polish forces are strong enough to force their way, so maybe they should try move out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We got these 2 companies entering the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll see if it will do something. And I think that's all when it comes to the Polish movement. I need to wait until some Polish reinforcements arrive in the next day, because there is one more Polish infantry division on its way, but it enters the battle at the 2nd of September. So that's all for the Polish movement. Next we have German counter-attack phase, and the question is if Germans want to do any counter-attacks. Well, I think I will actually move this armored battalion here to make sure that this bridge won't be captured or destroyed by this Polish unit. And that's all when it comes to my counterattacks. Yes, that's all. So let's resolve this counterattack. Germans had 6 versus 2, so it's 3-1. And 8 in the 3-1. It is B1, so defender has to retreat 1 hex. And now losses. Germans had 6, so it's 6-10. And 6-10 in 10, this is -1, so Polish company suffers 1 loss. And Poles had 2, 5, no losses on German side. Okay, now Polish attacks. And here this group tries to get rid of these German units there, so we have, let me check, these are 2 battalions of 34 Infantry Regiment, so they have 8. Anti-tank unit has no strength, it is used only against enemy tank units. So we have 8 versus 7, so it's 1-1. And Polish artillery is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 hex too far. So this is 1-1. And 7, I believe this is a draw. Yes, this is nothing, so both sides remain under hexes. Time for a losses roll. Germans had 7, so it's 6-10. And the roll is 9 on the 6-10. This is 1 loss on Polish side. And Poles had 8, so the same verse, and 1 loss on German side. Okay, this concludes Polish attacks, and this is the end of the turn 2 of the day 1. Well, not really. I have to check for one more thing, and this is Polish supply, because I think that several Polish units might have a problem. As for Poles, their supply lines are the southern edge of the board. So let's see if they can trace a road connection to this edge. These 2 units have. Now here, but this unit hasn't. Definitely, this unit hasn't. And these Polish units, I believe they can. Yeah, they still can. Good. They are not out of supply. So that's all when it comes to Polish supply phase. And next we have turn 3. And turn 3 is a night turn. In the night turn, all the attacks and movement are limited. So it is always the turn when you are about to fortify your units, to simply move them just a bit, and normally you would avoid any major operations during the night turns because it is pretty risky, but sometimes it is, well, necessary. So this is night turn and Germans are starting. In the night turn you can move your units only by 2 movement points or 1 hex. So this is a very limited option, and I think what I'm going to do is to fortify this unit. They are moving 1 and 2 movement points. As for them, do I want to drive these Poles away of this place? That would be pretty hard, because when you are running your attack in the night turn, your strength is halved. So I will move this reconnaissance unit here to make this bridgehead stronger, and the remaining units are fortifying themselves. This motorized unit move here. These tanks are moving 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. That's all for the German movement. I think yes, that's all for the German movement. I cannot use my Air Force in the night turn. I think it's pretty logical. So that's all for the German movement. Next we have a Polish counter-attack phase, but well, Poles have not much of the situations where they can run any counter-attacks. So we have German attack phase. I will try to attack here. So I have these two units, and they have 6, but when you are attacking in the night, your strength is halved. So I have 3 and 2, so it's 5. 5 versus 1. It is 5 to 1, and when you are attacking during the night turn, you have to make a roll for any additional modifiers. Oh, no good. Let me check. Night combat. We got -2 negative modifier. So we got 5 to 1, 6 to 1 because of the star, and 5 to 1, 4 to 1 because of the night attack. So it's, oh well, no, it's 4 to 1 and 11. This is nothing. This is a draw. No one is retreating. And now losses. We got 5 plus 1 because of the star, -1 because of the night attack. So it's 2, 3, 9. No losses for Poles. And now German losses. Poles had 1, +2 because of the night attack, -1 because of the star. It is 2, 3, and 11. 1 loss for Germans. Nah. So you can see that night attacks are not very effective. One more thing. I need to check for German supply. All these units are in supply. You can tell by this road here and there, and it's fine. But these two units, well, they cannot trace their supply through this road, by all means, but let me check if this road is safe. I believe yes. Yeah, so they have a supply. Okay, that's good for them. And now time for Poles. Again, night turn, so a little to do usually, but they will fortify themselves. They won't be attacking in the night because, well, you saw this here, that night attacks are very risky. So I will simply fortify my units and try to keep Germans off here. Now this battalion, 1 and 2. As for other Polish units, well, attacking here won't be a good idea, so let's retreat here. 1, 2. These Polish units are trying to make their way out. 1, 2. They are starting from this hex. 1, 2. And, well, I think that's all when it comes to Poles. And now let me check for German counterattacks. I don't think Germans have any good opportunities for counterattacks. Why? Because if this group would move here, they would have to attack these two Polish units, and it would be too risky, especially because it is a night. here I would be able technically to move these tanks here, but they will have their strength halved because of fighting in the woods and because of the night attack. So they would have their strength halved twice. Sounds like a very bad idea, yes. So that no German counterattacks. Next we have Polish attacks. I think Poles are not attacking anywhere. No, they are not. They are not attacking anywhere. So this concludes their actions. And let me check for Polish supply. Well, they are out of supply, definitely. They are still in supply, and the remaining units are in supply. Okay, so this concludes day 1 of the battle. So at the end of day 1, Germans are pretty far. These two units are technically allowed to leave the board in the next turn, I believe. Let's check. Yeah, I think they will be able to leave the board in the next turn, and if they will do so, they will they won't allow Poles to gain instant victory, because Poles gain instant victory if no German unit leaves the board through the eastern edge until the end of the game. So if only one of them will leave the board, Poles won't be able to gain instant victory. This is good. But from the other hand, keeping this crossroads might be essentially for Germans if they want to move more of their units out of the board. So I think that I might leave the board with my reconnaissance unit, because it is pretty fast, but it is not as strong as tanks, and keep these tanks on the board. But that's the matter of the next day of the combat. As for today, that's all. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.